you were part of something great back in 2008. You went to the Elite Eight. If you can, just give us your thoughts. Just give us a little overview of that whole experience.
Well, yeah. First of all, thanks so much for having me. My pleasure to be here. I mean, that whole experience is incredible. And anytime I look back to it, and right now I'm actually living in North Carolina, so not too far from Davidson. So I have a lot of people in the area always talking about it. So looking back, it's definitely pretty surreal, and it was an awesome experience.
Bob McKillop was your head coach, and he's a New York City guy. I mean, he was born in Queens, and sitting next to him, none other than Steph Curry. So tell us, if you can, one, an outstanding talent like yourself, that you were a Staten Island All-Star, a Daily News All-Star. How did you get recruited? How did you end up going to Davidson? And how did he end up recruiting Steph Curry? How did the whole thing come together?
Yeah, so I got a call from Tom Konchowski, who is a big-time recruiter up in the Northeast, especially New York City area. And he called me the summer before my senior year of high school, and he told me that Bob McKillop, Coach McKillop, was interested. He had seen me play, and he was going to give me a call. And he called me up. I was actually in the middle of a workout, which was a good sign for him to see. So he called me up. I was in the middle of a workout, and he told me that he had seen me play. He had spoken to Tom Konchowski, and he really liked me. The only thing was that they already had offered some other guys in my position. They had already offered scholarships. So if those guys accepted, then they wouldn't have any spots left for me. But I really like that honesty, because in the recruiting process, sometimes you kind of get told what you want to hear, and people make you promises, and you kind of find out it's not true. So I really liked and appreciated his honesty right away. And then he kind of he stayed with me and followed me throughout my senior year, came to a couple games, sent a couple assistants up to watch. And, towards the end of my senior year, he offered me a scholarship. And then Steph, Steph is a similar. Coach McKillop likes to recruit guys whose fathers have played, obviously Del Curry being a great NBA player. He kind of lucked out in the sense that not any high major schools were recruiting Steph. And Steph, I think, originally wanted to go to Virginia Tech, like his dad and his mom. But yeah, no one recruited him. Virginia Tech said he could walk on, which he didn't want to do. And Coach built a really great relationship with Steph and his family during the recruiting process. And Steph's from Charlotte, which is only about 30 minutes from Davidson. So it worked out.
Man, that is an incredible story. Talk about a diamond in the rough. Wow, and right in their own backyard. The tournament that you played in was a very memorable one for the run that you guys went on. We have a nice action photo of Steph Curry going up for a rebound. You're alongside him also, and it's a player from Kansas going up for a rebound. But you went on quite a run, and again, made it all the way to the Elite Eight. You beat Gonzaga, Georgetown, and Wisconsin. And then, Steve, I mean, you lost by only 2 points to Kansas, who was the eventual winners, who cut down the nets. I mean, man, you guys came real close to going all the way.
Yeah, we did. And unfortunately, I was 0 for 2 from the free throw line in that game. So that stings a little bit. But yeah, we were close, and looking back, you wonder what could have been, because we had lost our first game of the season that year to North Carolina, but we lost by 4 points on the first game of the season, and then if we would have beat Kansas, we would have played them again in the Final Four. So it would have been a really interesting matchup to play them again, because Kansas ended up blowing them out by 20 or 30 points. So it would have been really interesting to play them again in the Final Four.
You know, Steve, just to kind of put it into perspective, we're sorry that you missed those 2 free throws, but that does happen, especially you're a power forward, so the big guys are not, you could just look at Shaquille O'Neal, and, the big guys are not expected to hit all of their free throws, but you played in all 36 games, you averaged 13 minutes a game, you shot 60% from the field, you were a stalwart with the rebounds, and even the year after that, you averaged 6 points a game, and you averaged 6 rebounds a game. So you had an excellent career, by the way. We want to applaud you on that.
Great
job. Thank you. Well, if I was the same size as Shaquille O'Neal, if I could dunk like him, then I could excuse myself from missing those free throws. But oh well.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, when 6'7", but again, you were a blue collar guy, and I would tend to think that. Coach McKillop, you're probably his kind of guy, a kid from New York City. Your dad was a New York City firefighter. I'm sure that he took a quick liking to your game.
Yeah, he did, and like I said, he tries to recruit guys his dads have played, but also, like you said, blue collar guys, and I guess that's kind of what he saw me as. And my role at Davidson was a little more of a role player, and he kind of tries to get his big guys to what he says, run, rebound, and defend. And looking back, I wish I would have developed my skills a little more, but that was kind of my role at the time was to do things within the system. And as everyone what I'm probably most famous for, if famous at all, is setting screens for Steph. So I got pretty good at that. But yeah, being from New York, he likes to recruit guys from up there. And I know he's happy now that they're in the Atlantic 10 now, so he's get to travel up there a bunch, and they got the A10 tournament at the Barclays Center, so he loves to get back to New York when he can. You
not only were on the same team as Steph Curry, you were his roommate. Here we have a picture of you, looks like you're having lunch, and probably just talking about, whatever that day brought you maybe in class or whatever classes you were taking, but it's kind of pretty extraordinary that that you would play with him on a college level, and I don't think any of us ever dreamed that he would take off to another level that he has.
Yeah, I never could have predicted that he's doing what he's doing right now, but at the same time, literally from the first time that I played pickup with him, I could tell that he was special in the way he played, and he just had such an amazing feel for the game, and you could just see he had incredible touch, and he was unselfish, and he worked on defense. So I'm amazed by what he's doing right now, and I don't know that I definitely didn't expect him to be arguably the best player in the game, but I also can say I'm not really surprised. Just knowing him as a person and seeing the kind of work he put in, it makes sense. It really does.
Well, Steve, you actually did say it before it happened, and I'm going to quote from Cormac Gordon's Staten Island Advance column on June 26th, 2009, and the headline of the story is "Steph Curry will be great for the Warriors," says Davidson teammate Steve Rossiter. So you predicted it, and the funny thing is, and this is going to really hurt Knick fans out there just to hear this, and this is the way Cormac started his column. Steve Rossiter, former from Davidson teammate Steph Curry, will be great no matter where he plays, and this is the painful part. The New York Knicks coveted the nation's leading scorer at number 8, but the Golden State Warriors took him number 7 overall.
Before us, wasn't it?
Just before us.
I remember that.
You know what? So, Greg Pinto, I know you're out there listening. Turn the sound off to that. That's how close we came to getting Steph Curry.
Imagine him and Melo.
Not so bad. My brother Anthony wanted to ask you a question, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Pleasure to talk with you.
Hey, likewise. Thank you.
I'm a big college basketball fan. I always wonder, I guess fantasize would be the word. Would there ever come a day when, like, a local team, I love when St. John's hired Chris Mullen, maybe he could put that program back on the map. And I actually went to the Wagner game this year And unfortunately, they didn't get it done against Fairleigh Dickinson, and so they didn't make the tournament. I always wondered, do you think, that a day could come where some local kid just decides to stay home and go to a local school and really put that school on the map? I was just wondering, like, what went into your decision. You went to kind of a school kind of the size of Wagner. How does the decision process come about? And do you think it could ever happen that a kid, a real impact kid, would stay home and turn a program around, a local program?
Yeah, well, as for me, I knew Davidson had a great reputation, and I know they played a really great schedule out of conference. Back when they were in the Southern Conference, when we were in the Southern Conference, it's kind of a weaker conference, but I knew they played an incredible out of conference schedule and played some of the top teams every single year, and they were the highest level that was recruiting me, and I was really intrigued by all that because I hadn't really had any offers from teams like that. So, but it was really when I visited campus and met the players and got to know the coaching staff and got to hang out with the players for the weekend that I knew that I loved it and I felt comfortable, and I just knew that was where I wanted to go to school. And as for your second question, I think that St. John's and Wagner, two local schools, I think they're in different situations because I think that Chris Mullen took the job, and if it works out for the most part, I think he'd plan on staying there. It's not the type of job that you really want to probably leave. Like him being an alum and him being a New York guy in that sense. I could see him building a great program over the years if he sticks around long enough.
I hope so.
And getting New York City guys to stay home. As for Wagner, I think there's a little more of a challenge because I think that the Wagner coaching job is a lot of guys will try to use it as a stepping stone.
Right.
So as Hurley kind of did, he had a couple great years there, but he moved on. So if he would have stuck around for a long time, you could potentially build the program up. But that wasn't the case. I think it'd be a lot easier for St. John's, given their former reputation, and Chris Mullen. I think they could definitely get some guys to stick around. I
hope you're right. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, we've been kind of talking about this kind of throughout the season. What's your opinion of the one and done type of programs or the guys that come out as freshmen? One of the things that I thought was so refreshing about Villanova's success was they run the program what we'll call the right way, the J Wright way, but the right way. It's a 4-year program, and it's geared around that, and it's the team concept, not just kind of developing some superstar that's going to move on after a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because for a lot of guys that are at the top level in terms of talent, the NBA is their ultimate goal. So I can't really fault them for leaving after a year or 2 years, whatever the rule is. I don't even know, but I can't fault them for leaving because if the NBA is their ultimate goal, and they have the best shot to make it that year, then I think they should do it. But and I know Duke for a while. I think Duke Coach K was trying to not really recruit those one and done guys, and then he kind of saw that he needed that talent. So
right, he was
started
losing
doing
out.
it again. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely admirable, and it's cool because I think the more you do that, like you saw with Denzel Valentine and Tom Izzo, the type of relationship they have, and you could tell. I know Tom Izzo was choked up in that press conference saying he wanted to get it for Denzel. But so that stuff is great to see, and I love it, and I think it's really cool to see, and it really kind of keeps a lot of the purity of the game of college basketball. But at the same time, it's guys trying to make the NBA, and that's just kind of how it is.
Your team was very special on and off the court. You really, really were. And Steph Curry with that very friendly smile, the relationship that you had with him. There was another interesting player on the team, number 24. Not so much what he did on the court, but his name is Bryant Barr. And what he did is he got Steph involved with something early on that Steph has stayed with his whole career, and Steph was at the White House last year, and believe it or not, unrelated to winning the championship. So it's a really amazing story. But Bryant Barr, such an outstanding young man, and he educated Steph on the problem that we have with malaria in this world. And if you can, just speak about him for a minute, and then I'll kind of explain more what Steph Curry's doing.
Yeah, sure. Bryant was. We were the same. We also roomed together that one year when I lived with Steph, Brian, and another guy as well. And Brian is just he's a great person, and he's always done things like that, and he's always kind of done a lot of stuff outside of basketball to help people. And he actually, he started his own charity and built it up, and he got a lot of people involved and raised a lot of money. And basically what they would do is raise money to give the mosquito nets to people in Africa. And because, obviously malaria over there is just insane and just rampant. But yeah, I mean, Bryant is a special person, and that's kind of the type of people that I was fortunate enough to be around at Davidson on a daily basis. It's such a special place outside of basketball as well. And I can say that all my teammates made me a better person, and trying to keep up with them and do stuff that they're doing. It was a really special experience, and I have some great relationships that are still strong right now. So just a great bunch of guys that Coach McKillop brings in consistently.
When I was doing a little research for the show, when I first saw that picture, I assumed that he was there because he won the championship, but that's not why he was there. And again, it says, Curry with President Barack Obama during a visit to the White House 2015 to launch the president's initiative on malaria. And Steve, as you said, they have a website, and they have a foundation, and it's called nothingbutnets.net, and he is spearheading that. And you know what? We hear a lot of talk in recent days about mosquito bites, and with the Olympics coming. Right, the Zika. Yeah. Listen to this, Anthony. You're going to be amazed. With regard to malaria, every 60 seconds a child dies from malaria. Each year, an estimated 219 million people are affected with malaria, a disease spread by a single mosquito bite, and causing approximately 600,000 deaths, mostly children under the age of 5. It's incredible. And it's incredible what Steph Curry's doing. And again, a lot of the genesis came from, again, those days when he was on Davidson with yourself and your teammate Bryant. So, what an experience it was for you, Steve, on and off the court.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Steph there, and Brian as well, I mean, both those guys, especially Steph, he could easily just write checks and be done with it. But he puts his time, which his time is so valuable, and the fact that he puts a lot of time behind things like that, it just speaks volumes of who he is as a person and the kind of family he comes from, and just kind of, like I said before, the kind of family and kind of people I was fortunate enough to be around.
Because I want to speak on a personal note. You talked about family. I coached CYO sports for 12 years, baseball and basketball. Coached a lot of kids at a Lady Queen of Peace parish in Newdorp. And I had the absolute pleasure of coaching you for a couple of years, and not in basketball, by the way, in baseball. So that's one of the amazing things, Anthony. Not only
two-sport guy.
Not only was he a phenomenal basketball player, I coached him in baseball, and I didn't really coach. I mean, the other kids on the team I had to coach. Stephen was so well coached. And this is how I'm going to tie in to family. Stephen, again, then we'll talk about your basketball prowess and who was behind you with that. But baseball first. I just want to say that you carried our baseball team all the way to the Staten Island championship game. You were a phenomenal pitcher, and I just want to give kudos. Your mom, Pat, has a brother, Tom Conroy, and he's still a pitching coach over at assistant over at Monsignor Farrell. But if you can, just speak, if you will, about your uncle for a second, and just tell him what kind of impact he had, with your baseball roots.
Yeah, no, it was great. I was fortunate to have, both my dad and my uncle were always around, kind of getting me involved at an early age in sports. And, you know, they didn't force me into anything, they didn't push me, but once I took an interest, they were there to really help me out. And my uncle would always bring me to practices with older guys, so I'd kind of learn quickly. And I remember once took a fly ball off my face because I probably shouldn't have tried to catch a fly ball that high. But they threw me right in, and they were, you know, they were kind of teach me the right way to do things, and, you know, didn't really let me get away with things, and held me accountable. And it really definitely had a huge impact in shaping me and kind of building my character and learning the actual game and the right way to do things. So I was really lucky to have that.
No question.
From a
You
young
mentioned
age.
your dad. Your dad, Steve, was an outstanding basketball player on the island, Farrell and all that, and he played at Loyola. So,
Yep.
and again, you had excellent coaching all the way. Your dad is retired from the FDNY. So again, speaking about family, it didn't get any better than that with the training that you got and the support that you got.
Yeah, for sure. And my mom used to beat me at one-on-one all the time. So when I was young, so she taught me a little bit as well. And then, yeah, my grandfather, everyone was involved, and I was really lucky. I still am really lucky to have all them around and really helped me out as a young kid.
You know, and again, with family, let's also just mention that your brother also benefited from all of the coaching in the family. He played, he followed in Steve's footsteps, which was great. And then he went on and he played for Siena, and he played in the tournament and did great. And he went to France. He's playing professionally now for the last 3 years in Japan.
Wow.
So we want to congratulate Ryan on a great career also.
Yeah, thank you. I'll let him know if he isn't able to get the feed over there.
Steve,
But yeah, he's still going strong, and he has nothing. So any of your Japanese listeners, he's got nothing but great things to say about them.
We got a lot.
About the country and about the people. So.
Steve, we want to thank you for a few minutes, and we want to congratulate you again. We want to thank you for sharing that. We know that you're involved with sales and marketing down in North Carolina, and you also, on game day, you do work with Davidson marketing department. So continued success with that. And when you come back to Staten Island to visit, please pay us a visit and come see us in person on the show.